All right, good day and God bless you. We thank God for you that's joining us on tonight in our virtual Thursday night table. I'm sorry, Thursday night live. Man, they done changed it. They done got a brother and a sister's virtual, done took our in-person, done took our table. So we just Thursday night live. And we are blessed to be here. We're excited about our panel on tonight, man. We've already had great discussions and everything. And man, hopefully when we go off, we may have more discussions. I don't know. They may not want to fool with us no more. So I don't know how it's gonna roll. But hey, we've been blessed by them, and I trust and know that you will be blessed by them as well. Man, tonight we talking about going back to school. Whew. I don't know about you, but hey, as a parent, man, I got to this place where I was like, hold on, we going back to school? Thank you, Lord. Man, get these babies back in some structure. Get them to school. Let's get them to the bus stop. No, forget that. I'm going to drop them off. You know what I'm saying? Man, that's where we were. And then now, bam, COVID hit. Craziness hit, all these adjustments and alterations. I mean, we've been talking already, and we'll talk tonight about, like, you know, it's not cookie cutter anymore. Like, you're gonna have to make decisions. What's best for you, what's best for your home, your child, your district. You know, may have different rules, regulations, resources. So man, we just gonna have to pray and press our way through this one. And again, we have some awesome panelists that's going to share with us on tonight, that'll share their perspective. So again, hey, we'll give opportunities for you to raise questions. Hey, you ain't finished to be badgering our panelists though. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to be sharing from their experience and what's best for them. And they'll also share some insight from their blessed perspective as educators and even as parents. So I'm excited that they're here and excited to hear what they have to say. So hey, I'm going to quickly pray, and we're going to jump right into it. Father, we thank you and we bless you and we praise you for this opportunity just to sit, pause for a moment. God, I just want to thank you for blessing us in this day. You've kept us, kept our minds, kept our mouths. God, you kept us in the midst of it all, and we want to thank you, sir. And in the midst of that, we pray your blessings upon our time on tonight. Bless our panelists. Bless those that are listening and watching. And I pray, God, that something will be shared that will bring enlightenment to those that are listening and watching, and even our own selves. Bless our time on tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, panelists, if y'all would, we're going to go around the horn. Y'all go ahead and share, introduce yourselves, and then tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump into these questions on tonight.
All right, she said she would start with me, and we'll go in that order, so I'd be happy to do that. My name is Pamela Brown-Ledette. I am in my 25th year of teaching elementary school. I've taught kinder, first, second, and third, and even subbed for a little bit in between. I have one son who just graduated from high school, so I'm an empty nester too. I currently teach kindergarten for Pflugerville ISD at Roe Lane Elementary. Very happy to be here.
Awesome. We're blessed to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kendall, and I'm in high school.
What grade are you in?
I'm in 10th grade.
Hello, my name's Kimberly Sterling. I'm Kendall's mom. I'm a mother of both a 15-year-old and a 20-year-old. So I'm working with both areas, being in class and having a child out of school. And now I'm working with the child at home doing virtual work. But I'm a healthcare provider. I'm a nurse practitioner. So I'm happy to share my perspective on both the educational aspect as well as the healthcare aspect.
Awesome. Awesome.
How's everyone doing? My name is John Tate Buell. I'm in my 11th year in the field of education, my 10th year of teaching. I started off in John B. Conley. It's in Pflugerville ISD, where I worked in special education. I worked in behavioral support for 5 years. I later moved to Round Rock ISD, where I work still in special education, where I'm also an athletics coach as well, 7th and 8th grade football, basketball, track, and I work in the inclusion setting. I'm in my 5th year there. I also have 3 children. I have one that's at the University of Missouri, and he just left for college. And then, well, he's going into his 2nd year, excuse me. And then I have 2 that are in elementary school, a 2nd grader and a 1st grader. And as well, I'm happy to be here.
Man, that's what's up. Well, man, I'm excited, man. We got a diverse panel, and which would just bless us with the versatility and the perspective. So I'm excited, man. Welcome. Glad to have y'all on tonight. All right, let's jump into it. So going back to school, in this COVID-19 pandemic, help Lord Jesus. The question is, what adjustments are you making or have made to prepare for this school year?
I found that one of the biggest adjustments is normally you would be going to get school supplies, clothes for school, and different things like that. I've spent more time now getting masks, safety things, shields for my face, because in kindergarten, we're teaching them how to read, and we can't teach them sounds with a covered mouth. So there's a portion where we're going to have the shield on just to show them the sounds, and they follow our lips and things like that, then put the mask back on. So it's going to be a lot of that. Getting a thermometer. I even found buying a forehead thermometer, an oximeter, and just all kinds of things that more for safety as opposed to just clothing, because it's just a totally different game now.
Wow.
I've been trying to go to sleep early, and I've been making sure I have the supplies I need to start school.
For me, as far as preparing and trying to get her prepared for school, number one, you need to make sure, because it is virtual learning, that your internet is working. We anticipate that there's going to be some crashes going on, just like we've been seeing in the news. So making sure our internet is working right now, and also making sure that you have a backup plan in case their computer doesn't work. So she has a cell phone, and we have multiple computers in the house. So we're making sure of that. Also, mentally, from a parent's perspective, we need to make sure that we are mentally prepared, because we have to anticipate our frustrations that may come with being the mother and the teacher, or the whatever parent and the teacher, but also making sure there's a designated workspace. They've been in their room for 6 months, having a good time. So now is the time for them to transition out of those rooms more into a structured environment. So have a designated workspace, whether it be in the kitchen, a spot in the kitchen, if you have an office or whatever the case may be. And also just being ready. Your patience has to be there to take care of your kids. If the parents can't get frustrated, if the kids are frustrated. So you got to make sure that, hey, there are going to be some frequent rest periods, so both of you all can gather yourselves and be productive.
And the way we tried to keep everything. I have a daughter that's just entering her 1st year in kindergarten. So we try to keep things the same. We wanted this to be the same experience that, my older sons had as far. So we still went school shopping, let her pick out a backpack, the school supplies, because this is our 1st year and we didn't want her to miss out on that experience. So we definitely did that. We picked up the hand sanitizers, the masks, the gloves. We have more masks than you can even think of. So, sometimes we have so many masks, we can't even find a mask, and that's crazy. But more of as Kim was saying, it's more of a mental preparation as far as what I've been taking. I am an extrovert. I love being around people. And right now I've been either cooped up in my house or in a classroom by myself. And so that's the adjustments I have to make, that I have to move around, and let me move back and forth. And, for me, it's hard. It feels like sedentary work, and that's definitely not my calling or for me. So it's been more of a mental preparation for me. And as she said, it's patience. One thing I know I learned last spring is working on patience. It says a hot-tempered man stirs up distension, but a patient man calms a quarrel. So that's one thing that I've definitely been working on, because I've been known to be hot-tempered. And so right now it's really adjusting as far as being patient, knowing that, like you said, the internet may drop, knowing that you're going to have to check on the work. It's not something that you can just go look in a folder, but now you have to go into the computer and look through classroom, through classroom, through classroom, through classroom, not just for one kid, but for how many kids you have. So that's how I've been preparing.
Man, that's awesome, and that's amazing. Like the impact and the adjustments that's needing to be made in this season, and I'm sure that some of the ones that y'all have even stated, which are kind of maybe basic and foundational to y'all, I'm sure that others are like, man, like, yeah, I ain't even thought about that, and some basic necessities. I will interject and just say, man, the preparation for this season is going to be so imperative. And I'm reading this book about self-compassion, right? So forgive me if I share excerpts from self-compassion, but I just want to share to the parents and to the educators, even to our young people. It's like, hey, man, you have to give yourself space for grace. You're gonna have to be like, man, hey, in as much as we'll prepare, there may still be things that's like, man, like, okay, I didn't think about that. Or I got to do this, or man, I got to do an extra thing. Just knowing we're going to have to make some major, just the adjustments that y'all have made, y'all have stated are some major adjustments from prior years, from what we are accustomed to. And I'm sure there'll be many more. That's amazing. Kendall, you said you going to bed early? Is that what you said?
Trying to.
Hey, keyword, trying. I like that. All right, that's good. Because I know you and Victoria been texting after hours, but that's a whole nother story. We're not here to talk about that, though. Okay. Hey, Victoria gonna be mad at me now and stuff since I said all that. So, man, that's good. That's awesome. All right, man, let's shift it and let me ask another question. So, what are some benefits? I mean, I think we got a list of challenges, right? That's connected to doing school or what have you in this climate. But let me ask y'all this: what are some benefits, and then what are some challenges in going back to school virtually, and then also to the classroom?
Benefits of virtually is the safety of knowing that, I guess if I had a little one, I'm talking from a kindergarten perspective, if I had a little one, having them there with me, I know they're safe as far as washing habits and different things like that, and proximity from other people. And we're going from being totally in-house to all of a sudden going to being with other people. So the virtual part helps me feel safe. The teacher now, I go to campus so I'm around all my things that I need, my books, all the materials I need to teach, but it's helpful having my things, but the virtual part, as far as the students are concerned, I would say just the safety part is it. Yeah.
So I agree with you as far as the benefits, because we know the more they are exposed to other people, that increases their risk for COVID. We also know that these kiddos are the ones that are carrying COVID, in which they have, it's called a viral load. So they have more of the virus in their bodies and don't exhibit any symptoms. So that's the problem. They have the virus, don't exhibit any symptoms, and they have a higher viral load. They're going to school, being exposed, and then they're coming home bringing it all to you. So the biggest benefit of virtual is you have your children at home, you have them safe, and you don't have to worry about that aspect of life. And we know that right now, that is the biggest thing that's going on in life. It's impacting everything, and especially education. We know that these children, they require social interaction. They miss that. They've been socially isolated for 6 months. So they really require that social interaction. And how do we get that done? They can call their friends on the phone, FaceTime, they can set up some Zoom meetings if that's something that they want to do. But as far as going to visit a whole lot of people, that's not the case. So the only benefit that I see out of virtual is, hey, we don't have to run around as parents. We don't have to run around, and we don't have to worry about them getting sick when they're in their own home.
I agree with both of them as far as what the benefits are. And I also have some extra benefits of myself. I think one of the benefits is, going back to last spring, the benefit is the children are still having the opportunity to learn. They're still, they're still given curriculum. They're still learning. It's not that education is on a pause or anything like that. So the virtual learning, not only does it do that, it allows more parent involvement. I think one of the things that we've been missing in the schools is parent involvement. Now with, kids in elementary having to be on the computer, parents have to be more involved. They have to be in tune on what's going on with their kids in their school. What are they learning? Teaching them from home. So they're also actually getting different styles of teaching. They're getting the online version, and then they're getting parents at home that's reiterating what the teacher's doing. So they get different forms of learning. And that's one of the benefits. It's teaching kids at a young age to be accountable, to know the things that you have, to set up time, and to be a great task manager. So those are some of the benefits that they're reaping at such an early age.
Also, as far as because you know your child, you know their strengths and you know their weaknesses, you can capitalize as far as your creativity at home. So you can tailor to whatever needs to be done with your child rather than them going to school, sitting in class and saying, hey, I didn't understand that. You bring them home when they're at home. And then you have time to research everything. So like you said, parental involvement will increase because there's no choice.
That is true.
Good. Yeah, that's I want to do something different. We usually wait until the end to raise questions. If y'all don't mind, a couple of questions that have come in. So I want to make sure that that we answer those. All right. All right, one of them. All right, cool. I'm saying I can't even read it. All right, so here you go. So one question is, my kids do not want to listen to me. So how do you encourage your kids to want to learn? Now, before y'all answer, y'all know we may have people on here from CPS, so just answer. All right. So, but again, what should they do? Their babies don't want to listen. I mean, they probably still on vacation. We talking about going back to school. So, what's up with that?
I would say, like Ms. Kim was saying, when you set up their work area, that is a work area. Food does not go in that area. That's where your books go. If you treat that work area like you treat school, they're going to learn to treat it just like school. So, and parents always have to remember this too. If you have a hard time getting them to listen,
Come on.
imagine being me. So when you send them to school, you're sending exactly what you have at home. And so we hope that parents will prepare their children as far as their behavior is concerned. There's a certain level of respect that needs to be at school. You need to be ready to watch the teacher, listen to the teacher, keep your body as still as possible so the teacher knows that you're listening, and then be willing to ask questions politely. So you have to instill those things before they get to school. It's hard for the teacher to be the first one to teach that. It's very difficult. And I teach them from the very, very beginning stages of school, 5 years old. So it's a blessing when children come in and they have discipline and they're good listeners and they're respectful. So we hope and we pray that all parents just take the time to set up that workspace and just teach them the importance of, okay, when it's time to work, it's time to work. When it's break time, it's break time. Just get those schedules. About those schedules early. So I appreciate what you said about that workspace. It's very important.
I agree. I also want to add that you need to have a structured schedule, like you say.
Yes.
So if they normally get up at whatever time to get dressed, they need to get up at that time to get dressed to be wherever on time. So, and that includes going to bed at night. That includes getting up. What do you do in the mornings? Getting them their breakfast as parents, because you have to prepare the breakfast now. And then sit them down so they can get ready for class.
Yes.
So, but also at the end of the week, we know that, or at the end of that day, we know that when they're sitting in front of the computer all day long, that's tiresome. You get that fatigue. And when you have that fatigue, you're not wanting to do anything. So you need to start coming up with some type of reward system, not rewarding them for doing their school work,
Mhm.
because we want them to learn, but we do have to reward our children for
True.
doing, going not above and beyond, but doing what they're supposed to do.
Mhm.
What I like to do, I like to go in my closet and get my belt. That's how I get them to listen. No, I'm just playing. No, I'm just playing. But I do that too. But on top of it, my wife, I've learned some things from my wife. Like I told you, I've worked high school and I've worked middle school, and there's a reason why I haven't worked elementary. I just have I haven't built up the patience to do it. But one thing that my wife does is that she's very creative, and that, like I said, it becomes parent involvement. She reads the lessons before we even get to them. And so, for instance, if we're doing science and we're talking about sea animals, she finds a video on YouTube to get them interacted first. So they'll say, okay, we're watching sea animals. Ooh, this, that. So that way she's able to relate with what they like to what they're learning. And I found that to be a great positive. Now, like you said, there still has to be some it has to be structured though. It can't be we watching YouTube videos all day. And that's been the biggest help as far as being creative, doing interactive lessons with them. And it all depends on a parent's schedule. And I know a lot of people are working at the same time. And so that's what can be hard. But like Ms. Kim said, that just sitting in front of a computer can be exhausting, because I know since virtual learning, I've come home and I've gone to bed earlier than I've ever gone to bed, just because me sitting in front of a computer is more tiring than me interacting with a kid. So being creative, being patient, knowing that if they need a break, give them a break, not a break to do what they want to do, but a break to collect their thoughts and say, hey, it's time for learning. We're about to move on. Are you ready? And until then we'll move on, and then we'll have our structured free time within them. But, being creative and adding to the lessons of what the teachers give.
That's good.
Yeah, y'all hit some majors, especially like that partnership, that parental involvement. I think hopefully, prayerfully, teachers will receive that, more in this season, not just there be a need there as there's been a need there, and then they still don't receive that, that's, the old African proverb is that it takes a village, to raise a child. And I believe even more so now, man, it got to be all hands, all hearts, all belts on deck. Bible.
Brains.
That's right. Praise insane. But yeah, that's definitely needed in this season even more so. And I love the commentary, as y'all say, about like setting up the structure, ahead of time. Whether it be, going to bed early, the placement is so huge. Many people, many have been working from home, for an extended period of time. Adults have learned that lesson. I hope have learned that lesson. Like, man, you just got to split up everything, because at least mentally, you are dividing these spaces. Okay, this is where I'm working, this is where I'm eating, this is where I'm sleeping. That is so important mentally, to maintain that, that mental resilience, while we are already in a traumatic season, in itself, doing everything we can. So I'm glad y'all referenced that as well. Hey, I got another question that came in. We're not even gonna get to my little old questions. But it's cool. I want to make sure and stuff that the people get what they want and need. So here it is. Another question came through. What if your child is not a virtual learning student? That's a huge one. And they need to be at school to learn better and more effectively. Y'all want to talk about that?
To me, it's not so much whether your child's a virtual learner or not. I think all children learn differently. You have to find the way that they learn. And I guess with me teaching younger children, it's very important that I learn which ways my students learn best. If they don't learn virtually, and that's kind of like a must that we have right now, you have to have the virtual learning, tailor it to their learning style. If I'm sure the teacher would be open to you switching it up a little. If there's maybe something they have to watch, so they watch it and they may have to turn in something. If they're a musical learner, a tactile learner, have them do it the way, definitely ask for permission, because I'm sure the teacher would be open to it. because you're trying to teach your child in the way that they learn. Have them do whatever that is that way. And in our district, we use a program called Seesaw, and it's a digital portfolio. And so I always ask my parents, take a picture of whatever they did and submit it. And I count that. That's work done, and it's done in their learning style. All children can learn, but all children also learn in their own way. So that's just something to keep in mind anyway. And as teachers, we need to remember that and not have the same types of lessons for everybody. And as parents, it's just good to know that too.
I agree with you because Kendall is one of those, she has difficulty learning as far as virtually. She needs to be in the classroom setting. And so what I would do is we would go through the lesson on this happened over the last semester. We would go through the lesson, of course, on the computer, she trying to figure it out, and then she would come in and then we would work through it. But you know, it's okay to reach out to the teachers for other resources. Don't feel that just because your child is at home that you have no way out. So be sure to reach out to utilize the resources that are out there. I work with a lot of children at the hospital, and their biggest frustration, you see a lot of them coming in because they're stressed out because they're not a virtual learner. And so, but they're also not utilizing the resources. So just be sure that you have the contact information for those teachers. Be sure you're emailing if it's something that you as the parent don't understand. And there's a lot of stuff out on the internet to help you. But don't feel that just because your child is not in school that they cannot learn and get ahead and stay ahead.
That's a tough one for me because I feel the same way about my youngest son, that he has a hard time learning virtually. He needs structure. He needs other kids around him. That not that he can't be a leader, but there's times where he needs other people to lead him as well. And so once again, just it's about being creative. And as far as, like you said, it doesn't have to be straight virtual learning as far as being in front of the computer. You have to find, manipulatives or toys or whatever the case may be, for they can put their hands on things. And that way that you can correlate that and virtual learning at the same time, instead of them just sitting in front of the computer, writing or listening. And like I said, I've had the benefit of my kids me and my wife both have to go to work. So they've been able to go to daycare, and daycare has been taking on that responsibility of allowing them to learn. But I think at the same time that they're around other kids that are working at the same time. So it allows them to, hey, they're working, so let me go ahead and work as well. So it's just about mixing things up. Like I said, you don't have to be in front of the computer the whole time. I'm not sure how other districts work as far as, how long that you have synchronous time. And synchronous time is when the teacher's teaching in front of you and the student is looking at the teacher, and there's asynchronous where you work by yourself. And during that asynchronous time, that's when you need to bring in those manipulatives, those different activities. So it won't be that, hey, it's all about virtual learning. It's about, I'm putting my hands on some things. I'm doing projects, and it makes learning fun. I think it's hard when learning becomes, so focused on hearing, listening, and doing instead of getting involved.
And may I add something too? In kindergarten, we teach a lesson, we have them move to another area of the room, and then we work on that lesson. We're using manipulatives and things like that. Kindergartners rarely stay in one spot in the room, I'd say even 10 minutes at a time. So you have to know, depending on their age, what their attention span is. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, you're going to have them do the asynchronous, and they're going to learn the lesson. They're going to do whatever thing that they have to do. We even use journals in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. So if your assignment doesn't include a journal, why not just add a journal to it where they're drawing, they're writing, and see, in kindergarten, we're writing too. We just wrote the sentence today, I like dogs because they are cute. So we don't play. In kindergarten, we're really writing real sentences, and we're teaching sight words every week. By the time they leave kindergarten, they're reading in a first grade level. So it's not the same type of kindergarten we grew up with.
Mhm.
It's excellent because yes, they're getting that strong academic thing, but at the same time, you got to keep them moving.
Mhm.
Have them listen to their lesson, have them do some jumping jacks in between. If you see they fidget a little bit, it's okay to put a little bit of extra movement in there. Okay, let's go run around the house and then come back. You do what you need to do to help your child cope with this, because it is kind of stressful sitting in front of a computer.
But
But
also,
in between, we're for that.
I just want to piggyback that, when you know your child, so it's
Yes.
important for you as a parent to inform the teachers about your child's needs. So it's not to be embarrassed or judged or anything like that. If your child has needs that aren't addressed, you need to let that teacher know. If you have concerns as far as, hey, this is going on with my child, you need to let the teacher know, because at the end of the day, this is a collaborative working relationship, and that's what we want to make sure is at the end of the day is that the child gets the content and they're able to move forward and apply it as needed.
And one thing that I do, and like I said, my son, he has a lot of energy. And so one thing I do, I have to wake up a little earlier than what I normally would wake up. And I take him outside and we run around the block. And like I said, it's a sacrifice for me. It's a sacrifice for him because we're up early and it's still dark outside and we run around the block, not to wear him out, but to get a little bit of energy out so that he can focus a little bit longer. And maybe it won't be 45 minutes, maybe it won't be 30 minutes, but he focuses long enough to get the content and what's going on to be able to function later on.
That's good. You're tailoring it to what he needs,
Mm-hmm.
so you are working with the school to
Mm-hmm.
what he needs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is all about. We're in this together. We have to help, teachers have to help parents, and parents help teachers, and pastors praying for us. We need everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
Is you're so right. I was gonna say, I mean, just y'all sharing and y'all being, one of many awesome individuals that's sharing tools and tips, and I'm excited because I know that we shouldn't take, those things for granted. I mean, one thing that I'm praying through is during this season, it's like, how are we, you talk about, pastors and even churches, like getting more involved in supporting, our young people as well as, parents, the home. And I have a meeting on Friday, tomorrow, Jesus, about
That's-
so I had a meeting on tomorrow that I better be prepared for, because one of the major topics is like, how can we support our kids throughout this school year? How can we support our parents throughout this school year? How can we support the educators in this school year? Because it's going to be hard and challenging for everyone. And the needs, I mean, Miss Pamela and Jay, y'all been experiencing this every year, where you're like, hey, we're going to do this, but we need parental support. Like, hey, we need your support. We don't need 4 people showing up to the PTA meetings. We need everybody to be showing up. And, and I saw some memes back, in the spring that was saying, like, yeah, talking to the parents, right? Saying, yeah, all that stuff that the teacher's been saying about your kids, now it's right. It wasn't just all the teachers and the principal and the counselors. But it's going to definitely take all of us to come together and provide a great level of support to ensure the success of our young people. So I appreciate what y'all sharing and the content. Man, we got some more questions that came through. We didn't even get to my little old question. So, but this is good stuff. Y'all keep it coming. So another question was, let me see. Okay. I am not at home. Now this is gonna be a tough one. And I'm gonna say this before y'all answer. The views and the opinions of me, Sack, and my peoples that's on this call, on this Zoom, do not reflect. All right, so we're not going to be liable for our answers. All right, we're going to give our expert, here's the word, opinions. All right, so here it is. It say, I am not at home with my kids, so I don't trust them by themselves. Would it be a good idea for them to stay at home by themselves or to send them to school?
What are the ages?
That's good.
Would be my first question. Depends on the ages of the children. But if you don't trust them, I guess it doesn't matter what age, because I've raised a teenager, and I understand. I understand. So it depends on the age, don't you think?
Is it that she doesn't trust them because of the safety of them harming themselves? Because that's something that you have to raise. If it's something where they're going to harm themselves or do something in the house in which there's a potential for somebody getting hurt or death, then that'll be another question. If it's because, hey, because they just don't listen, or it's a way that, hey, we're going to work this out to where we're going to get it right in the house. So when she says she don't trust them, what does she not trust about them? What actions does she not trust?
Well, I can tell you this as far as, and I'm speaking from my standpoint, I don't trust my kids at the house either for them at the age that they're at, as far as for them to be able to log on at the proper time, because right now they're at an age where they have no concept of time. So
Right.
to log on at the proper time, to know which website to navigate to know when to log off and then to log back on, and then to do their work and do it properly. And so for me, and like he said, it's this one's my opinion, and this is what I'm doing. My kids are, I mean, like I said, it's also work situation too. My kids are going to the school. So it's more of, it's I guess it's not trust, but me knowing that they can't handle the responsibility that's given to them by themselves. And then not only is it not about the work, but now I have to, can my elementary kids prepare their own lunch? Okay, I prepare the lunch for them in the morning, but can they warm it up? Will they eat the proper things instead of going into the pantry and eating all the granola bars? And yes, they mind when I'm here, but when I'm not here, are they going to do all the proper things? So that is a big concern. And like you said, it's to each his own, and you know, each kid matures at a different level. So like I said, it depends on the age and it depends on your kid.
Yep, it totally depends on the age of the child.
I know in our school district, we have some parents that are rotating their homes for like, they'll have their kids at this home these days, this home on another day. Some people are sending their kids to daycare. It just depends on how you work it out. Or I know somebody was asking the other night on a Facebook group, do you have room for one more student? So when they're at these places, you've got an adult that's supervising. They're responsible for making sure they get on. They're responsible for eating. And you can't neglect the fact that they need to eat between this. You've got lunchtime coming between that. And you don't want them eating just any old thing when they're trying to learn. So definitely you want them to be you want them to be supervised. So I probably wouldn't leave mine at home by himself, to be honest with you. As a senior. So understood.
Yeah. Oh man, just some amazing challenges. I would also say that I talked about my meeting and stuff on tomorrow, and just some things I've been praying through, like through the summer. Partnership is so imperative. You know, and Miss Pam talked about, the parents group and all of that. Like in this season, I feel that if we don't partner, we will perish. And we talked earlier about, the partnership with, whether it be the churches and, and obviously, parents and teachers and children even, hey, the children got to be a part of this. Like, we're going to do this. We don't want to just do this for you. We want to do this with you. So, all of this is really for you, but help us help you in a sense. And so but I think that like the partnership in the community is imperative, and seeing what can we do, what can we establish so that our kids can be set up for success, so that we can move some of that fear, trepidation, knowledge of knowing who our kids are, and I mean, I understand that that's legit in raising that question, and then seeing what support and what resources are out there, and utilizing, optimizing those resources as well. I'm gonna go to the next question, or to another question. Oh man, it's a tough one too. So, and Jonte, I think you was talking about this earlier. But tell us, for each of you, you can tell us, what can a parent do for a child that's just entering school, pre-K and kindergarten?
What can you do to prepare them for school?
I would assume so. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I would say on any normal year, if they're just entering school, make sure they know all their letters, all their sounds. By the end of the year, they're expected to be able to count from 1 to 100 out loud, know how to read simple words, or at least know how to sound out words, know how to listen. And I don't say that lightly at all.
Right.
You want them to be able to follow simple directions. Teachers try to give one-step directions. Make sure they know how to do that. Make sure they know how to wash their hands correctly. We're talking about a whole nother thing when we're talking about COVID. Make sure they know how to be safe. Make sure they know how to wear their mask. Social things are going to be different. Even when we go to recess, it's going to be a totally different game now. Used to, we send them out, they play, teachers are monitoring things like that. But now we're talking about social distancing too. So there's a lot of different things they need to know academically, but socially too. How do you sit and listen when the teacher's reading a book to you? How should you sit in your seat? Oh, that's very important. We've had children stick their heads in the back of the chairs and get stuck. So how do you sit in a chair nicely and safely? How do you walk in the hall and not run? So just to prepare them for little things like that, because they've got to follow the rules to be safe, first and foremost, but they've got to follow the rules to learn.
Good.
I was going to ask, are they talking about how to prepare them for kindergarten, or how to prepare them for the virtual aspect of it? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just stated, if I understood it, or if I read it correctly, it just states, what can a parent do for a child just entering school, and then it's pre-K and kindergarten. So I don't know if that's generally or any specifics.
I think even with that, what we do every night before they go to bed is we read a book, and there's times we read a book every night, and it's not a chapter book or anything like that. It's a short book. And what we do is we read, but we point to the words and the letters. And there's times at some pages that we have them repeat after us so that they can know what the words look like. And also, you play around during that time. All right, book time is over with. Go to bed, lay down. And it's teaching the same thing that Ms. Pam said. It's teaching them how to sit and how to listen, and how to pay attention at the time when somebody else is speaking. So those are some things that we work on at the home. Washing our hands before dinner. Hey, don't hit your brother, don't hit your sister, keep your hands to yourself. So those things, if they have brothers and sisters, things that you're teaching at the house for the pre-K and kindergarten level, I think that, just continue to be constant with those. And like I said, I would really add, reading to them at nighttime to make up for that virtual part that they're not getting in class. Like I said, you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to be a little extra tired than what you normally would be. But I think in the end, it'd be worth it.
I love the reading part too, because when we read to them as classroom teachers, we'll read the book, but we're asking questions the whole time we're reading. So as we're going through the story, oh, what do you think is going to happen next? What just happened? What do you think the character's thinking? How do you think the story is going to end? Can you think of another way this story could have ended? So you're constantly talking to them through the book, and eventually they're going to be reading to you and asking you questions. So we're trying to build that independence in reading and the love for reading. And the way you develop that is reading to them at night and talking to them as you're reading. I think that's great. A good
I
start.
also want to add, because these kids are spending so much time on their games, you buy educational stuff in place of games.
Yes.
So rather than sitting down playing for hours on games, get them the Leap Pad or whatever type of educational devices they have out now that are teaching them. And also, Teacher Heaven is going out of business, so they're having a huge sale on all of their books. And Amazon always has books, so that's something that you can utilize so they can learn the basics.
And we use incentives too at the end of it. I mean, maybe it's not the right incentive, but we give an incentive as far as when they answer, like Ms. Pam said, we ask them questions. When they answer a question right, here's a Skittle. Like, oh, I know the next one. I know the next one. No, it's my turn. You know, so it's getting them interactive. And like I said, maybe candy's not the right way, but I mean, it helps, and it helps them get involved and helps them want to learn during that time. It's not every time.
Teach them how to brush your teeth well then.
But we do that too at night. We do
If
that.
you're going to use that incentive, just make sure they brush their teeth really, really well and floss. So you can add that to it.
And floss. Amen.
And floss.
Oh, Jesus. That's a whole nother story. That's good.
Yes.
Man, I love what y'all stated. And man, you know, I just want to encourage parents, especially you got little babies, you know, and I say little babies, you know, pre-K, kindergarten, you know, those in elementary. Do everything you can to encourage learning, encourage reading, so they can gain an appreciation for education. Because if they get older, you know, I remember, I don't know if the statistic is still the same, but, you know, when they start talking about, you know, building prisons and, you know, they're looking at 3rd and 4th grade reading levels, you know, which will determine how much space they're going to need in however many years, you know, and that's a whole nother story, I believe. But, you know, just the educational piece. So it's not such a chore when they are, you know, in junior high. And now we're trying to force them to read or trying to encourage them at that point to read. Like, it ought to be something that's ingrained in them, that they have an appreciation for education as well as for learning.
And can I say, I think with that, we can't just give a book to them and say, here, read it. We have to give them books that they're interested in. Let them pick out their books so that they do have an interest in reading. And going back to what Ms. Kim said about the video games, I do allow my son to play video games, but at the same time, before he plays a video game, he has to read. So he reads 10 minutes. You can double your time of video games, but you say you're done at 5 minutes, then you only get 10 minutes. So by the time you turn the game on, that's 10 minutes. So, I mean, it starts from there. And so those are some of the incentives that we try to use on the extra to help them to let them want to learn.
You know, what's interesting about the video games, we're now more on screen than we've ever been, ever, as far as I can remember, since we had computers and all of that. One of the things, I'm a divorced mother, and at my son's father's house, he had the video games and things like that. Here, I have journals and music instruments. So I never wanted to do the video games because I always felt, I don't have anything against him, but I wanted to see what's it going to be like if he has no video games here and then he only plays them there. He's a great writer. And so the writing built his creativity, and he was always able to come up with these really cool stories. I was like, oh, okay, so we'll keep the video games at Daddy's house. And Matthew, go write a, you know, story. Or I would see some of his work from school, and I've even kept a lot of that. And one of the things I noticed when his friends would come over, they would go to his room and play with, you know, his toys and everything. But eventually they'd end up in that music room where there's all kinds of drums. And parents, I know you're thinking, okay, that's a whole lot of noise, but you have to develop a love for, it's not going to sound like we think music sounds, but children trying music instruments, that's the most beautiful thing to me. Yes, it may not sound right to you, but let them express their creativity on a musical instrument. You may find that one has a gift that you didn't know about. And so I've got all kinds of instruments in there, keyboards, a djembe. We used to have a drum kit, but didn't use that as much. So now we have conga drums all throughout, shakers, all kinds of things. But his friends always ended up in that music room. So yeah, if they love video games, try something different. Just have something else around, and they'll start. You know, children are they're I don't want to say nosy, but they like to get into things, right? So let them get into music instruments. Just try it and see what happens. Leave some art supplies around. Give them something else to maybe discover a talent in. So it can be something other than the video game. Just encourage that too.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, our babies, and I still say our babies, but
Mhm.
you know, they are, this generation is so bright, you know, and I feel sadly that we have limited that creativity by not providing versatility in their lives. You know, it is, you know, sometimes it's either just sports or, you know, school, or it's like, you know, like like y'all have stated, you know, video games. You know, it's like, man, it's like so much in them that has been deposited that needs to be developed where they can explore those things. So I love the alternatives that y'all are expressing as well. All right. So here's another question. So not only do we have this pandemic, COVID-19, all the challenges that we're talking about that it poses for school, but here's my next question. Talk about our young people starting school with all of the social injustices that's going on in our land and country. Speak about those effects and how can they navigate through all of that and still be successful?
Wow, that's a big one. I know our district has taken an initiative, Pflugerville ISD has taken an initiative to make sure the books that we have available to children, the children can see themselves in those books.
Nice.
A child of every ethnicity ought to be able to see themselves in the books that are in the schools. And we're purposely doing that. And I know even in kindergarten, people are like, well, kindergartners don't see color. Yes, they do. We want to teach them to appreciate the differences that we have, the differences in the hair texture, the differences in skin. That's a beautiful thing. That's a God-given thing. And you don't even have to mention God. It's just, it's a gift to have this and to walk in this. There's a book that's called Shades of Black. Talks about the colors of the skin, and it talks about it compares straight hair to a blade of grass, light skin to a popcorn, a popped popcorn, or the brown skin being like a candy bar. By the time I read that book, and this is all my children, I teach English language learners too. So children from Africa who are speaking French and just all types of children. By the time we finish that lesson, I say, think about what you have special about yourself. And I want you to go to your table, and here goes the writing again. Take out your journal, put your date and your name, and I want you to think about something something about you that you can compare to something that you see every day. One little girl was like, my hair is like cotton. It's as soft as, she had her Afro puffs. My hair is soft like cotton. Or one boy was talking about his red spiky hair. It's as straight as a toothpick and things like that. You want them to embrace their differences. And I think the problem with now is we're trying to make, we're separating but not embracing. Difference when you're separating people, talking about, well, this is bad, but let's look at the good in being different. And then we celebrate those differences and they bring us together to make us a very diverse country or union. You know, we just have to do it differently. But I applaud Pflugerville ISD for doing that, especially at a very young age. We even had, and I hope y'all don't mind me just a little bit longer, but one of my teammates had a parent write and said, That book was just highly inappropriate for kindergartners. That was the email that was sent to that other parent. And my principal answered to it. And she let them know the importance of children seeing themselves in books and things like that. And the book was very appropriate. I'll say that. I looked at it myself. I assigned it, but it was very appropriate. I think that parent was just uncomfortable with talking about difference in complexion and different things like that, where we're from and things like that. So maybe it was a learning experience for that parent. There was never any problems made after that, but I know that there was one concern, and the principal pretty much helped them to understand better what we're trying to do. So that's one way we could fix this.
I would emphasize that we encourage the children to be themselves. Regardless of what's going on around them, encourage them to be themselves. Don't try to change or try to fit in to doing what everyone else is doing. Limit their exposure to the next negativity, because that's all that's in the news, that's all that's on TV, that's all that's on the internet. Limit that exposure. Why? That's going to worsen their anxiety. So we don't want them to already be anxious and they're already trying to learn other things too. So encourage them to be themselves. We're trying to work on their mental health, because we know mental health is a big aspect of what's going on. And that's just not for us, it's for everybody, what's going on in the country. So mental health is a huge thing. Suicide is a huge thing. And so it's going to just be really important. Embrace people's, like you said, embrace people's differences, but also love yourself. Love what you have going on. Love what your culture is doing as well. So, but don't ever mistreat anybody just because they decided to mistreat you too. You be the same all the time, but don't let them step on you either.
I'll be short and quick with it, because Round Rock ISD is doing a lot with what Pflugerville ISD is doing. We also have incorporated a thing called circles. It's where we have different groups of kids that we go with the whole time. And what we're able to do is we're going around asking roundtable questions, and we're exposing the differences in between each other and letting each other know that none of us are similar. None of us are alike. We all have differences, and to love those differences about ourselves instead of trying to be like someone else. So with the social injustice, it's a hard one for me. You know, I can't deny that I get angry. I get upset. It's hard to talk about it at times. And so that comes to a point where, you know, once again, when we're able to talk about it in the roundtable discussion, it's able to not necessarily get things off your chest, but express who you are, why you are the way you are, and what those differences are, so that we can come together, not necessarily so we can agree, but at least we can know about one another and know our differences.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. Well, the 3M has already alerted me that we already have 3 minutes. So y'all help me, because when y'all get off, then they still be giving it to me and stuff and be going off and all that stuff. So here it is. Let me ask this question. So, you know, the scriptures talks about fear, and so many things have happened to help generate fear. So I'm asking this, whether, you know, from a student, a parent, an educator, tell us what are some things that we can do to adjust in life, to overcome our fears in this, what is really a new norm.
I would say find out more information, because the more we know about something, we can become a little more comfortable about it. Definitely, if you're a Christian, pray, because this is a very tough time for me, even in the 25th year going back, because of the unknown. When you don't know things, you tend to fear it a little more. So I try to find out more information about things as much as I can, and ask questions.
Good.
Read credible sites. Google.com, Google Med, and all of that stuff, that is not a credible site. I know there's a lot about the CDC because of what's going on in all of the politics. CDC is a credible site. I cannot emphasize it enough. I work in healthcare. Am I afraid of COVID? I absolutely am. But like you said, they're still doing a lot of research. They're still trying to put everything out, and it's coming out daily. So we don't know. So what do? We just adjust and adhere to the guidelines. That's the best I can tell you. Stay at home.
I know
absolutely necessary.
Now you're referring, I'll be quick about it. I know we're running out of time. You're referring to the scripture, Psalms 23. And it's, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pasture. And I know a lot of people go beyond that verse to talk about it. But when we're talking about green pasture, I did a little study on it. And they're talking about in the wilderness. Now, if you've ever seen the wilderness, you've never seen a green area. And in the Eastern culture, in the farmland, they never let the sheep flock on the farmland because it was limited. So they took them out to the hillside. And so the hillside, I looked at a picture, and the hillside, it was very barren, and all you see was rocks. And I'm like, where's the green pasture? But then they showed the sheep walking up, and they zoomed in, and in between each rock, there was little pieces of grass. And so the shepherd would lead his flock, and the sheep would eat that grass. They would only get a mouthful. Then they had to keep on following the shepherd. So they had to move forward. And then they got another mouthful, and they had to keep on pressing forward. And so in the time of fear, what we have to do is we have to trust our shepherd, which is the Lord. And we're only going to get a mouthful. He's not going to give us enough for not to worry about the tomorrow or anything like that. Enough for right now, not even the whole day. And we have to continue to trust in God to get over that fear. So each step of the way, he gives us enough, trust him, and then keep following.
John Tay, you preach it, man.
It's good.
Come on, man.
Yeah, almost had me crying.
They talking about we good getting over time. Well, hey, we're gonna log off. Oh, Lady V said pass the offering plate. So man, post your cash out, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's some good stuff. Good. Hey, one last question. I know they're gonna get me on this one, but one last question. Just give us give us your final words. Give us, and John Tay, that should have been your final words, but we're gonna give you one more final word. But y'all give us your final words to those that may be listening and watching. Just how can we, maintain being safe, being sane, moving to this new school year? What's your final words that you want to share with us on tonight?
Parents, just know that you are your child's first teacher. I try to empower my parents to know I need you because you've been teaching them before I ever got them. Know that you are enough. You're good enough to give them what they need until they get to me. So just be encouraged with that and be confident.
Amen. Good stuff.
You cannot do everything by yourself. That's what I will tell you. Utilize the resources, utilize the community. That was a good point with Pam stating, hey, come up with some type of parent group to help with the kids. But then just be safe. Take care of yourself because you cannot take care of other people if you're not well. You can't take care of your children if you aren't well. So do everything to keep yourself well so you can take care of others.
It's good. Real good.
I think they said great. Be smart about what you do. Be encouraged that this too shall pass. Maybe not right now, but be encouraged. And during that time, find unique ways to continue to interact with your family. Embrace the time that you have with your family and show other people grace.
That's what's up. Hey, Kendall, we ain't heard much from you. You got any final words, daughter? Anything you want to share, sweets?
Goodbye.
You said goodbye?
Yes.
Hey, I mean, you can't beat those for final words. I feel you. That's good. Hey, man, I thank y'all for being on. Y'all have shared some amazing content. We will be reaching back out to y'all to glean more. I mean, this is great, right? The going into the school year, but what are we gonna do after that first month? After that second month. Did I say month or week, or did I say day? I don't know what I said. So we're gonna need some more wisdom. We're gonna need some more insight. And I pray that we can reach back out to y'all and we can be a support, not only to y'all and what y'all are doing, but then y'all can be a blessing and just let iron sharpen iron. So I really do appreciate y'all being on. Hey, to all our listeners and watchers, man, we appreciate you. Thank you for all the questions, and I pray you've been blessed on tonight. Until we blessed to be back together on next Thursday for Thursday Night Live. We look forward to it. Hey, y'all be blessed.